Welcome back to the meal prep series. We're making spiced chicken burrito bowls. They're high in protein, high in fiber, they're delicious, easy to make. Let's get straight into it.
Starting out, we're going to make a really simple corn salsa. I'm going to use 2 large tomatoes, just wash them, and you can use pretty much any tomato of your choice here. Slice these into strips the whole way across, stack those strips up, slice into strips again, or battens, then rotate 90 degrees and just dice into small to medium sized pieces. Next is 1 red onion, slice off the tip, just slice it in half through the root, peel it, then we can dice this into small to medium sized pieces again, pretty much the same size as the tomato, that way it's the same sort of bite every time. For the acidity, we're going to need 2 limes. I'm using small limes right here, so if you do have a large one, I do recommend just using 1, but you can always adjust if you need to. We're just going to slice those in half for the time being. Then we need 10 grams or 0.3 ounces of coriander or cilantro that can be roughly chopped. If you think it tastes like soap, just don't use it. Last but not least, just 1 can of corn kernels that have been drained. We don't have to rinse them or anything. Then we're going to place a large pan over a medium-high heat, add in 2 teaspoons of olive oil, the drained corn kernels, and a pinch of salt. Then we're just going to fry these off for about 2 to 3 minutes. You'll notice a really nice light char come on the outside of these. It creates a really nutty flavour. And if you don't want to use canned corn, I know it is a little bit cheating, you are more than welcome to use fresh corn and just slice off the kernels. Once you have that done, we can then add in all of those ingredients we just chopped up, which is the tomato and that red onion. Also the coriander or cilantro, if you don't think it tastes like soap. Then we can squeeze in that lime. And just start off with 1. You might not need all of it, just test and adjust the acidity if you need to. Season it up with a little bit of salt. You can also add some pepper here as well. Then just give this all a mix until everything's combined. And this right here is the macro card for the corn salsa. And this is calculated for 1 portion. Moving on, we're going to be making some fried black beans. All of the ingredients are pretty simple. The only real fresh ingredient we're using here is coriander or cilantro again, and we're just going to do the same method of chopping as we did for the corn salsa. For this, place a large saucepan over a medium-high heat, add in 2 teaspoons of olive oil, drained black beans, which is just 1 can's worth, 1 teaspoon or 2.5 grams of ground cumin, half a teaspoon, 1.5 grams of ground chili powder, and a pinch of salt to taste. Then just mix these around and cook them for about 3 to 4 minutes, just to toast those spices and enhance the flavour. Then we can add in the coriander or cilantro, again if you don't think it tastes like soap. Mix this all through, cook it for about 30 seconds, then remove it from the heat. And this right here is the fried black beans macro card, again for a single portion. For the next element of this dish, we're going to be making some cauliflower rice. What I have right here is 1 whole cauliflower, preferably a large one if you can. We're going to trim all of the florets around from the stalk. We will use the stalk as well, so that can all be trimmed up. Just remove any woody parts that we don't want to use. You can also use a couple of the leaves too, but just make sure they're nice and small. That way we can put them all in the blender, place it onto a high speed, then just blitz this up into a nice fine crumb. We don't want it to be too thin, we don't want it to be too thick. So just find that perfect balance, similar to a grain of rice. And I do recommend doing this in batches, just so you don't clog it all up and then the bottom part becomes too wet. Then you're going to have problems when you go to fry it, as well as blending it up. I will also mention, if you don't have a blender, this can easily be done by hand. Just need a little bit of elbow grease and a good sharp knife to get the job done. Now once you have that done, we can then place a large high-rimmed pan over a medium-high heat, add in 1 tablespoon of olive oil, get this nice and hot. Then in batches, we're going to add in that cauliflower rice, season it up with a little bit of salt and ground white pepper or cracked black pepper, which is what I'm using, 20 grams worth. Then just fry this off for about 4 minutes, just to get the moisture out. We want to get a nice browning on the bottom. I do recommend leaving it for a couple of minutes before moving it, that way we can get that nice little golden sear, creates a nice little nutty flavour. And that then leaves us with our cauliflower rice and the macros, again for a single portion. Now for the final element to this dish, which is our chicken, and for most of the protein, we're going to need 5 medium to large sized chicken breasts that can be added to a bowl, along with 1 teaspoon or 2.5 grams of ground cumin, smoked paprika, garlic and onion powder, as well as a little bit of salt and pepper, and about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Then just use a glove or some tongs or a spoon. Just mix everything together until all of those flavors have become friends. Let's then place a large high-rimmed pan, which is oven safe, over a medium-high heat. Add in 1 tablespoon of olive oil and get the pan nice and hot. Then we can add in the chicken, just do it the flat side down first. And we're going to sear this for about 4 minutes. If you have the skin on, that's even better, you get even more flavour. Obviously it's going to be a little bit more fat, but it's up to you how you want to do it. But once you have that nice golden sear, just flip these over and repeat the same 4-minute process on the opposite side. Then transfer this over to a preheated oven that's at 200 degrees Celsius or 390 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to cook these for about 14 to 15 minutes, which will be perfectly cooked. Then we can remove and allow them to rest for about 5 minutes. Now once it's rested, all the juices have redistributed, we can then slice this up. I do recommend slicing it rather than leaving it whole. It's just a lot easier to eat, and you can also portion it up this way a lot better. Just make sure they're nice even sized slices, that way you're getting the same sort of bite every single time. And this right here is the seared chicken macros, again for one portion. With portioning up, you can serve them using the weights that I put into the macro cards, or you can just divide everything by 5. I like to split everything up as well, just so it's a little bit separated, and then when you go to eat it, you can just mix it all together. It's up to you though, you can just place it all on top of one another. I do recommend pouring over any of the resting juices for a little bit of extra flavour. I'm topping mine with a little bit of sriracha mayo. You can use any sort of sauce of your choice or another chili sauce, as well as using coriander or cilantro as a garnish. You can do this now, or you can put it on when you're ready to eat it, that way you're not reheating any of the coriander or cilantro. And what we're left with is these spiced chicken burrito bowls that look and smell delicious, and this right here is the complete dish macro card.
Now once you have these in all of the containers, we can place on the lids. You can place these in the fridge straight away for up to 3 days, and they'll also last in the freezer for up to 4 months. Reheating super simple as well, place them in the microwave or do it in a pan, it's completely your choice. And the last thing that's left to do is, of course, we can then dig in.